kind of got to watch people too, I think, you know, because even if you think you find someone good, you can never really just like turn a blind eye to it.
100%. You got to manage the people, right?
So, so I mean, it's kind of a lot is what I just said, but I think you got to keep an eye on it. And then, you know, because if people know you're not watching, then they might just like cover something up and kind of do it a little janky and just know like, oh, no one's ever going to see that again because I put a piece of drywall over it, you know? But if you're kind of like, if you're around the property, if you're, you know, have people checking in on it and taking photos of it and stuff like that. If you're, you know, even if you're not there, you can have people doing that stuff. I think that's important to let guys know that you are kind of watching so that they just don't try to just get away with murder and just do a bunch of shitty work and then charge you full price for it, you know. And I've had people try to do that and kind of catch them and, you know, so.
First of all, thanks for coming in, man. Here on Mark and Adam podcast with Cherry Pick, missing Mark, and we got a trade up here with Devin O'Brien with Modern Updates. Thanks for coming, buddy. Appreciate it.
Heck yeah. Appreciate you having me. Hopefully you can offer some good value for the listeners.
Yeah. So Devin is a friend and general contractor. He has his own business, Modern Updates Construction. Check him out. Incredible work. He's the one that had worked on my duplex here in Mission Beach, renovated everything pretty much from kind of ground up, busted out a bunch of walls that we found mold in. We'll dive into those details today, but we're going to chat kind of just overall contract background, how you got started, a little bit of details here and there. So we can go ahead and dive in. Maybe lead us off of your background and how you jumped into general construction, general contracting.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so I'm from Ohio, as you know, and my dad actually owns an electrical contracting company. So I've been around the trades like my whole life, and we've always had like tools, and you know, each of us, I got a couple brothers, we always had tools growing up and building stuff, building tree forts and paintball fields back in the woods and doing all kinds of stuff like that. So I had a cool childhood. And then my dad actually owns a lot of rental properties as well. So I've always kind of worked on a lot of stuff for him. And, you know, I've probably done it all, like even back in high school, doing tons of work and learning from other contractors and other guys, and just kind of grew from there. And then when I was in college, I was renting a house and I would work for my landlord and doing all kinds of projects for him. And in the summers, I'd stay super busy and just be doing all kinds of stuff. So yeah, just kind of just stepping up and up and up. So you just kind of learn by doing it, I guess.
That was kind of maybe more of I'll call it a hobby or an interest. And then at what point did you say, hey, I'm going to dive in full steam?
Yeah, so it was really when I moved to San Diego, because I didn't really know what I was going to do. I kind of had a bunch of money saved up, and I had like a lot of really good tools and some pretty good experience. And I was thinking, you know, I actually had a lot of different ideas for jobs. I was going to get into sales. I was going to get into like maybe a marketing position, because I actually majored in marketing in college. And then I didn't really want to work like a desk job. I just like couldn't really see myself doing that. So I ended up just starting putting ads on Craigslist and like for handyman work. And then I think it was like $20 an hour. So if you could have found me then, we could have got a better deal.
Yeah, man. Oh, hey, I'll still take that $20 an hour.
But yeah, so started doing that when I first moved here, and then just kind of, you know, started to get more customers, started to get more experience, and then just kind of build up from there. And now doing like full remodels, like, you know, like the one we did together. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
What year you said that was?
That was 2016 when I moved to San Diego. So now it's been 7 years?
Okay.
Going on 8 years. So yeah, it's going pretty good so far. Each year I've been making more money, so that's been cool.
That's good.
Just the overall journey has been a lot of fun. And the main thing I like about it is just the flexibility and the freedom that I have. Like, you know, just like you like to take a lot of trips, I like to, you know, enjoy my life as well. So kind of get to make my own schedule and not have to ask people for time off and stuff like that. So it's pretty rewarding, but when you're in the thick of it, you know, it's a lot of hard work. So
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, after you had finished this job, you busted your ass head down working 7 days a week, and then you took a couple months off and enjoyed yourself. So that was awesome, right? You went
totally.
national parks and did all that.
Yeah, totally.
That's awesome, man. Okay, so and over that 7-year curve, was it kind of like a hockey stick that you saw it, or it's been a kind of a steady progression throughout the years?
It's been pretty steady.
Yeah.
I still haven't figured out like all the systemization and scaling and all that stuff, but I think that could possibly come. I think I don't know. My main thing is like I kind of want to reduce risk as much as possible, so I don't want to scale and then end up in court getting sued or something if someone messes something up. So I kind of like to keep my eyes on the projects that I'm doing just to make sure everything's going smoothly. And I think eventually it could get to that point where it starts a hockey stick, or at least I hope so.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. That's exciting though, man. It's been a great progression, and in general, just the fact that you can find a passion and interest and make a living off it, and along with live your life rather than have your job run your own life, right?
Yeah, totally.
Kind of jump into our project here. We're in Mission Beach, San Diego, duplex, 3 stories with a rooftop. Walk us through kind of when we went through initial project, initial scope to where we're at today, which is finished product.
Yeah, so it's really just kind of wrapping your head around it as much as possible, and then knowing like things are going to change.
Sure.
And you got to stay flexible, and you're going to come up on obstacles, and you just got to communicate through them, with your customer, and really just kind of make it happen, like no matter what. Like we ran into a lot of obstacles and a lot of things we didn't expect off the bat, but it happens with every project, and you just kind of keep on rolling through it, and eventually it's all going to get done. And the good thing about construction is, like I always tell people, like everything is repairable, so you can always kind of rebuild it. So
yeah, absolutely. So to give some background, purchased the house in end of March of last year. Devin got engaged probably middle of April. Initial scope was exterior paint, interior paint, redo flooring, patch up some of the leaks from outside inside. But as we started digging in, and as you started digging in, it turned out that the whole west side of the building, 3 floors across the entire duplex, pretty much had mold due to leak issues, windows not being installed correctly, and which ended up meaning rip out all the drywall on the west wall, remove all the mold. Mold was underneath some of the flooring as well. You ripped out all the flooring in one of the bedrooms. So what started as kind of this, like, you made it sound easy.
It was going to be we thought it was going to be a cosmetic repair, but sometimes it just goes like that.
Ended up just 3.5 months, 4 months, which honestly in the world of construction, probably most would have done it in a year. So big comment. So. Yeah, I have a lot of admiration and appreciation for what you did and your team did. There were 15 people here that you had at certain points in the project. So as much as you make it sound like it's easy, it was quite the scope. And anybody that's seen the project, talked about the project, then man, you did that in 4 months. Holy, that is insane.
It was definitely a big job, but it was cool, and we all appreciated doing it and stuff. And
ripped out the hot tubs on top, redid all the coating on all the roof decks, redid all the railings. 2 new bathrooms. So and so on one of those sides, that's the Airbnb short-term rental that I'm running, and everybody has just talked about the bathroom remodel's been amazing, the whole construction, everything looks new. So it's been screaming reviews, and it's done really well for me. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
What was maybe one of the biggest challenges from that project?
Yeah, from that project is just kind of like,
other than dealing with the owner,
Yeah, the owner, first of all, for sure. But other issues, no, Adam was great to deal with. But the other issues it was just like having a plan, like, all right, cool, we're going to do these things like this week, and then starting that plan and then having to completely like 180 and then backtrack and then kind of reassess and then like come up with new numbers for you. And then, you know, because once you get into some stuff like finding the mold and all the windows leaking and, you know, cracks in the stucco and all this stuff and rust coming from behind the stucco because of the leaks. Yeah, it just kind of grew and grew. But that's probably the biggest challenge is just, you know, trying to keep a decent schedule when you're just having a lot of curveballs thrown in and opening a lot of can of worms when you start, you know, ripping up drywall and remodeling stuff. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge, you know, the scheduling, and then your subcontractors kind of get thrown off of their schedules and your guys and stuff. So, and then I think it was kind of like the material crisis of COVID was
that's
happening.
true too, yeah.
So that was a big challenge, but thank God that's pretty much over.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. It'd be, okay, we're ready for the next thing. Okay, actually, it's not going to be here for another 6 months.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
we
think
gotta
there was
find
like
another supplier.
a couple hundred ships sitting out, you know, out in the Pacific that couldn't come into the ports because of COVID. So all the material was delayed like months when usually it would be like a week or in stock. You know, so
absolutely. A lot more Amazon hunting and online shopping than either one of us wanted to do at that time.
Yeah.
So you work with real estate investors. There's real estate investors listening today. What do you typically like, you know, when you're working with them? What do you like to see? What do they look for in you? Maybe walk us through a little bit of that from your perspective, and then maybe from vice versa.
Yeah, I think it's just like people that are genuine and that are in communication well. You know, a lot of people, like some of the times they get turned off by real estate investors, or they like, oh, they call you all excited about a project, and then like you don't hear from them. Like you're like, oh yeah, send me the address, send me the details, and then you just don't hear from them, or you know, they're just calling everybody doing that, and then you can't really build a relationship, and you're like, you don't really know if they're legit or if they're just trying to pick your brain and get, you know, shit for free. So stuff like that, if people aren't really genuine, I think can turn me off. And then, but what I do look for is people that, you know, that I want to be friends with, people that, you know, kind of know what they want as well. They're not just like, oh, maybe we could do this, maybe we could do this. So like people that are decisive, I think that helps a lot. That might be one of the biggest challenges for contractors is dealing with indecisive customers.
Sure.
You know, who can't make up their mind about picking out this or that. So it can be rough that way. But I think if people are pretty genuine and, you know, they're in good communication with, you know, with the contractor and they respect you as well, then I think you can develop a great relationship. And, you know, that's kind of what I look for. So.
Yeah. I could see, especially on somebody's primary house, dealing with the stereotypical Karen.
Yeah.
No offense to the Karen, the name Karens out there, but the stereotypical Karen that is too over the top, concerned about every little detail, and it's sort of you're just looking to get the job done. Obviously, you're always there and to support your customers.
Yeah, that's kind of a trade-off because it's like I want to work for homeowners because you can, you know, make top dollar, and investors are great because they have a lot of work, but they're usually looking to get a deal. But the homeowners are definitely a lot harder to handle a lot of times. So
that's a good point.
You got to be patient.
What about advice for people getting started in the GC world?
Yeah, I think, you know, just get into it and, you know, start working either as a laborer, you know, depending on how much skill you have, or start working for a bigger construction company. Out of college, I started working for my dad's electrical contracting company, and I worked there for about 2.5 years, and I was managing a lot of smaller projects for them. So I learned how to like read blueprints and manage people and manage his electricians and go into job meetings and reporting on progress and then ordering material, doing the pricing. So when I started my own thing, like I already kind of knew how to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think you need that experience to like work with other people before you just jump into it, because you kind of need that understanding of how it all kind of comes together. So I would say probably start working for someone else off the bat, and then also just continue in like personal development and, you know, looking for resources, looking for coaches out there who are coaching construction companies and stuff like that. And always like getting new information and figuring out new, better ways to do things, you know?
Yeah. Always nice to get paid to learn, you know, while you're while you're working for somebody else.
Yeah.
Absorb it, take it in.
Yeah.
All of those things, right? And
Totally.
And then you can kind of go out and start to branch off, do your own thing. I guess in the real estate space, actually just in general, no offense to you, but contractors tend to get a bad rap. There are a lot of poor contractors. There's a lot of people that don't call you back, don't finish jobs. I mean, the stories are sort of endless. So what's your advice for finding somebody like yourself? To me, it's more often than not you find bad ones than good ones, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And when you find those good ones, they might be booked out for a while. It might be hard to find. What's your advice on how to find a good one? How to find a good GC?
Yeah, I think it's to always be on the lookout for them. Like no matter what, just kind of always have it in the back of your mind. Especially if you're a real estate investor, like always be asking people like, oh, hey, who do you use as your contractor? Who do you use as your plumber, electrician? And try to build like a Rolodex of these people so that, you know, you have like 5 plumbers who you can call in case one of them is priced too high, in case one of them is not available. So you want to just keep building out that Rolodex. And then when you do find a good electrician or a good plumber, ask them if they know anyone who does framing, if they know anyone who does drywall or painting, you know, and if they're a good contractor, maybe even if, like I said, if they're specialized in their trade, they might know other guys who are really good. Like I've met a lot of good guys. Like if a guy does tile and he does showers, he probably knows someone who does glass doors. Yeah. So I could be like, hey man, who do you know that does glass doors? And then they're like, oh yeah, call up my cousin or my friend or whatever. And then you get another guy who does glass doors, and then you just keep building that phone book. And then eventually, you know, you have a lot of people there, and then obviously you got to make sure they're performing the work. Sure. And you know, make sure that it's all good. And you kind of got to watch people too, I think. You know, because even if you think you find someone good, you can never really just like turn a blind eye to it.
100%. You got to manage the people, right?
So so I mean, it's kind of a lot, is what I just said, but I think you got to keep an eye on it, and then, you know, because if people know you're not watching, then they might just like cover something up and kind of do it a little janky and just know like, oh, no one's ever going to see that again because I put a piece of drywall over it, you know? But if you're kind of like, if you're around the property, if you're, you know, have people checking in on it and taking photos of it and stuff like that, if you're, you know, even if you're not there, you can have people doing that stuff. I think that's important to let guys know that you are kind of watching, so that they just don't try to just get away with murder and just do a bunch of shitty work and then charge you full price for it, you know. And I've had people try to do that and kind of catch them, and you know. So
biggest success, what's your largest project?
Oh man, I've done a couple like your project, but I think overall, I mean, probably your project, and then one we did on Riviera, and then one on Cass Street.
Okay. What were those?
3, kind of similar, like full remodels.
Okay.
One was a duplex, and the other was like a 4-bedroom house. Okay. So kind of like in the same range, like, I don't know, I think it was like 150K or something, you know. So those are pretty big projects for me. Yeah. Most of them are around like 50K, 50 to 100K. But those are probably my biggest projects, biggest successes, even though sometimes I make a lot more profit margin on the small stuff. You know?
I hear you.
But yeah, like when I think back on my business, I like kind of think of the biggest ones. It's the biggest success. So
okay, biggest failure.
Oh yeah.
Of course that's got to come after that one, right?
Yeah. Biggest failure, let's see.
It could be a whole project, or it could be just a single thing that you go, oh man, that was a boo-boo.
Yeah, let's see. Honestly, dude, I've been pretty lucky to not really have any like big failures or something. I think the biggest failure would be like kind of saying yes too much to people, and then you kind of get wrapped up in some stuff you don't even want to be doing, which actually that just happened to me on Friday.
Very recent.
Yeah, so that's probably a good failure, like doing crawl space work under a house, like in like 2 feet and it's like all muddy.
Oh.
And yeah, so that wasn't fun at all. So I need to learn how to say no a little bit more to people, but I want to like try to help people and like handle everything. So I'll be like, oh yeah, we'll check it out. And then you get covered in mud and you're like, that was a big fail. But so yeah, I mean, any big failures? Yeah, just not doing bigger jobs, I guess.
Well, that's good, man.
Yeah, so hopefully that, you know, knock on wood, I mean, hopefully that continues to roll and don't get into any like lawsuits or anything like that, or something bad happens. But because there is a lot of risk, you know.
Sure. Even pricing out the jobs, right? I
that
got some good buddies that
can be an issue.
We're so slim
well.
at the beginning trying to win projects that they were talking about, man, I just did all this work, all this renovation, I just upgraded their house for free.
Yeah, that does happen a lot, man. I see it happen to a lot of people, and a lot of guys that are working nonstop, they end up not even making any profits. So it's like, you got to be careful of that. I mean, I've done it where I've priced stuff a little low, but at the same time, I mean, you just got to stay in, like, I think what happens to people when they do that is they don't stay in communication with the customer. So like things come up and then they're like, oh, I'll tell them about it tomorrow. And then like a week or 2 weeks goes by and they're like, hey, it's going to be an extra 10 grand or something. And then people are like, what are you talking about? Like, no way.
Yeah.
So yeah, but luckily for me, I haven't really had any big failures. So
that's good, man.
Probably a lot of little stuff.
Must be doing it right then. Yeah.
I guess so far, maybe.
Yeah, you got all limbs, all fingers, so
that's
good.
only almost chopped off a few fingers. So
okay.
Still got them though. So
almost. That's key, man. That's the key. I guess the first time that we started, first day on the job, that was a rough start. Now that I'm thinking about it, he had his guy taking down some cabinets and said, "Hey, just don't do the last 2 screws on it," and he did, and the whole thing just came crashing down, cracked the countertop that we were replacing anyway. But it was sort of like that was our kind of introduction meeting. I just sort of crossed my mind as we were thinking about it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying when it comes to like watching people and like, like I have a hard time trusting people because of shit like that, dude. Where they just like don't really listen and they just kind of start going into something and they don't know what they're doing. And he's taking cabinets off the ceiling and the whole like 3 cabinets connected, didn't take them apart one by one, but they all fell down. And Adam and I are just getting introduced to each other, talking about the project, and then bam, we turn around like, it's like, oh my God. That was a failure.
Yeah, I just thought that was funny. I hadn't thought about that in a while. As you were talking, I'm like, oh man, safety at work. Yeah, that one, right after 15 minutes into the discussion, it's like, okay, well, Devin, maybe we start on a better term than this one. Hopefully it doesn't get worse.
Right.
So it was all uphill from there, only challenges of finding mold and other things that were no detriment to you and your team. But last question to you, goals, aspirations, where are you looking to head with, maybe contracting or real estate in general? Just, what are your goals and aspirations?
Yeah, for me personally, I mean, I don't want to be doing remodels like my whole life. I pretty much am using it to like save capital and then start to invest in real estate and then start to work on my own projects, my own deals. So I mean, my eventual goal would be to build a real estate portfolio to, say 20 or 50 units around San Diego and just be renting those out, kind of working on them, as they need work. And then once it's all good and rolling, just kind of live a lot more free lifestyle and, maybe get into something else. I don't know. I feel like I'd get bored not doing anything. So definitely always want to be doing something. But yeah, I think the construction part of it is a little more like, I don't know, maybe another 10 years or so. And then hopefully I'm off and rolling into real estate and getting advice from Adam and stuff. So that's kind of my long-term play, to have a lot of rentals and just make passive income or semi-passive, right? So that's kind of my long-term goal and aspirations with it. So
And you got one of those huge big pieces of the puzzle, which is the contracting piece, the team in place. I mean, that's so pivotal in finding a good deal and executing on, good margins and everything. So
yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps a lot. And then, yeah, our buddy Monroe, he's my agent as well. So he's been hustling for me, trying to find me some deals. I just got approved for a loan, so I should be getting my first property probably this year for sure.
Hell yeah, man, that's awesome.
So that's exciting. Yeah, we've got outbid on a few already, so that was frustrating, but
man,
that's how it goes.
Yeah, you got to talk to Monroe about that one, man.
Yep. So
awesome,
yeah,
man.
that'll be kind of going forward, so hopefully everything goes as planned.
Hell
Just
yeah.
keep working hard at it, right?
Yeah, man. Love to hear it. Love to see it. And love to hear your journey, brother.
Yeah, thanks,
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, dude.
Appreciate you coming on. Thank
no worries.
you.
Yeah, thank you for coming out, or thank you for putting me on, man.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate it.